Hey guys, and welcome to another tutorial. Today Ace will be showing you how to do a 3D camera zoom in Adobe After Effects. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit the like button below and subscribe to this channel. If you would like to support Ace, you can become a Patreon and join the Discord using the links below. And comment below what you'd like to see next. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you all have a great day.
Hey guys, Ace here, and today I'm going to be going over how I set up my 3D cameras. As you can see, all I did was add a few objects in the scene. I did some zooming and a little bit of vertical motion as well. I think it looks really natural when you use it correctly, and there's a few tips and tricks I'll show you along the way, so stick around and maybe you'll learn something new. As you can see, the raw footage here isn't very interesting, so we're going to go ahead and start off with the first step, and that is adding a camera. So the shortcut to add a camera is Control-Alt-Shift-C, and then I usually name my cameras Cam, and then you want to make sure you have the 35mm preset on, and then enable depth of field. That's huge because we're gonna mess with the focus distance. So click OK. So I'm going to shorten this camera to where it's only over this clip. So I'm going to hit Alt right bracket, and that'll shorten the clip to that moment in time. And then I'm going to change the bottom layer to 3D by checking this box right there. And now when you move the camera, it will move that clip as well. So I actually don't use the camera's controls because I don't know, it becomes a little tricky, especially when you try to do vertical movements, because if you try to change the middle value, it'll start to rotate it. See that? And if you want that, that's fine, but what I usually do is hit Control-Alt-Shift-Y to add a null. And I'm gonna bring this down right over the camera and then shorten it to where it's only over that layer. And then I'm going to also change this one to a 3D layer. So now I'm gonna change this one to Cam Control, and I'm going to parent the camera to our Cam Control null. So now when you move this null around, it will move the camera as well as the clip. So now all we have to do is mess with this layer to affect everything underneath it. So next thing I'm going to do is go and add a few objects in. I'm just going to right click and layer new shape layer, and then I'm going to just add a circle, and I'm going to duplicate it a few times. Keep in mind that these circles that I'm adding is just going to be a kind of a placeholder so you can see that it is indeed parallaxing. So when you add your own 2D objects, maybe they're like animating or it's a particle system or something like that, it will parallax with the scene. So now from here I'm going to change this layer into a 3D layer as well, and then press P to single out the position, and I'm going to decrease the Z depth to make the particle a little bit closer to us. And I'm going to scoot it over to the side so it's over here. So now let's take a look. If we move our camera, it will move in a different layer of depth than the rest of the scene. So yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to do. I'm just going to duplicate this 2 other times, and then let's put one over here. With this one, I'm not going to have quite as far out. I'm going to make it a little bit closer there. So maybe scoot it over some. Maybe I'll make this one even further out like that. Yeah, sure. And one thing you'll notice when you make something closer to the camera, as it gets closer and closer to the camera, it'll start to blur more. See that, how it's starting to fray? And this is with no effects. This is simply from the aperture of the camera. When something is closer to the lens, it's going to blur more because the focus distance is at a certain point. So let me show you what the focus distance is. So let's select our camera, and we're going to change our active camera to top. So now we have a top view of our scene. So let me change the camera to white just so we can see this better. So now if I zoom in here, you can see the different shape layers and how far away, how close they are to the camera, and how far away they are from our scene, which is right here. So yeah, if you want to see more than one view at a time, you can click this and go to 2 views, like horizontal, so you can see the top view and the active camera. So you change this value, you can actually see what's happening. And I'm just going to add one more circle, and then I'll start animating our camera. Let's duplicate this one, move it over here, and make this almost even with the scene there. See how it pops through on the back side? That means if that ever happens, that just means you went too far. You can see this number go positive, which means it went behind our point of interest. Alright, so I'm just going to put it right there, and I'm going to scale it down. Okay, so now let's go ahead and animate our camera using our cam control. I'm going to separate my dimensions because I think that's a lot easier to do. And then I'm going to press F9 and just simply zoom this in all the way in. All right, about there, that should be good. And then I'm going to move the graph over like that. So I'm also going to do just a little bit of a vertical slide as well. So let's keyframe that, drag that down. I'm just going to move this way a little bit, and then I'm just going to scale this up. Okay, so now we have, it kind of slides up into the scene and then just zooms in to the center. Now what I want to do is I want this first particle here to be in focus first, and then I want the rest of the scene to be in focus. So in order to do that, you hit the drop down arrow on camera and go to your camera options, and you can keyframe your focus distance. So let me adjust this value so you can see what that does. If you lower the value, I'm gonna hold shift and drag so it goes by faster. You lower it so you can, oops, too far. You can see that it'll start to bring into focus things in the front of the scene rather than the back. And I don't like how the default aperture looks, so what I do is I changed this iris shape from fast rectangle to hexagon, and then that kind of smooths it out some. And then you can adjust the amount of aperture as well if you like. It's kind of just the amount of blur. So I'm just gonna put it right around 25. All right, and then I'm going to, so I want this at the beginning, and then at the end I want the focus distance back to where our scene is. There we go. So I'm gonna put this towards the end. Alright, let me play this shot first. Alright, it could look a little better, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on so I can just show you guys how this method is done. So let's go ahead and do the same thing here. I'm going to hit Ctrl-Alt-Shift-C to add a camera. Hit cam, 35mm, depth of field is on, and Alt left bracket to shorten it there. I'm gonna change it to white again so it's easier to see. And then Ctrl-Alt-Shift-Y to add a null, and then 3D layer that null, and 3D layer our clip as well, and then parent our cam to the null. This one I'm going to go ahead and do the motion first, so I'm going to press P, right click and separate the dimensions, and then keyframe our Z position. It's a simple increase, right about there. And then our Y position I'm going to do like this. Okay, so now I'm just going to duplicate one of these solids. So I'm going to hit Control C and then Control V, left bracket to move it over. And then I'm going to position it. Let's scale it first. Position in a similar spot. And similar size. Alright, that's pretty much the gist of it. Let me go into our camera settings here. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm going to keyframe our focus distance, F9, to make it to easy ease, and then I'm going to decrease this number all the way down until only our shape layer is focused. And now a tip to get your focus distance correct is to change the view to top view. Left and right works as well, but I usually use top view just cause. And then when you change your focus distance value, you can see where it actually is. So I want the focus distance to be right on our shape layer. So as you can see, there's not a lot of change that's happened. So what you can do is increase the aperture. So if you increase this number, you'll see the effect that we want start to happen. So you increase it. I want it right about there, and I'm gonna change it to hexagon again. And let me scrub through. Okay, doesn't look too bad. I'm gonna go ahead and play through the whole thing and see what it looks like. Oh, I forgot to change the graph on these. There we go. That, and I think that one's fine. And that's pretty much it for this concept. When you start adding things to the scene, you don't have to keep on, you know, like adding blurs to each individual layer and make them match the motion, all that stuff. All you do is just change the aperture settings on the camera and the focus distance and things like that. So you can save a lot of time and a lot of rendering power as well doing this, rather than adding all those Gaussian blurs or BCC lens blurs. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.